3, 2, 1, go. While a majority of the film takes place during the 1600s, during the swashbuckling era, there's something about medieval battle scenes that I've always really loved. So as I was developing the story for Avenger of Blood, I realized I could have my cake and eat it too if I just put my medieval battle scene I always wanted to film as a flashback to show not only how long this vampire has been terrorizing the world, but also to show how dangerous he really is. But what I wasn't prepared for was just how exhausting and honestly how dangerous it was going to be, because it's really nerve-wracking compared to doing lightsaber fights, because we're wearing real armor, we're swinging real swords at each other, real axes, and it's real steel. As I was storyboarding different sequences for Avenger of Blood, I hit this kind of brick wall, almost like a writer's block, where I was just really frustrated and I couldn't get anything to look how I wanted it to look. And there was this image in the back of my head that kept kind of like interrupting me in a weird kind of way. It was like I was just picturing these knights walking through the forest in the snow, and that image just wouldn't leave my brain for some reason. So then I started thinking about it and I started picturing this whole sequence. I thought, you know, maybe we need a backstory for our vampire, rather than him just being the monster that shows up like he was originally in the story. It was a much more simple thing in the beginning. So I decided, since we were going to give him a backstory, rather than just being a vampire, let's make him the vampire.
When we first see this version of Dracula, he is a lot more barbaric. You see him in like armor. He's much more of a kind of a feral sort of approach to the character.
One of the ways we're leaning more into this animalistic, predatory side of our version of Dracula is with sound design. I'm mixing wolf sounds in with Micah's voice so that when he's more angry and more aggressive, that's when these animal sounds start kind of coming out of him.
Even in Bram Stoker's novel, it mentioned him turning into different things, you know, a mist, rats, a wolf. We thought it was kind of creepy, kind of scary, and it also kind of pays homage to, you know, the original Bram Stoker's novel as well.
One of the things I was telling him over and over again as we were doing the scenes was like, think Uruk-hai, think Lurtz from Fellowship of the Ring. That kind of aggressive attitude, and he was, you know, he was working that into the way he was fighting and the faces he was making in it. It makes him pretty creepy. I like this version because he's a very kind of brutal vampire rather than just kind of like, you know, he doesn't sparkle, let's put it that way. It's a risky business, filming a battle scene with real weapons like this. Something I wouldn't recommend, honestly, because, you know, accidents do happen sometimes. Now, I thought fighting in the Vader armor for Star Wars Fallen Jedi would prepare me for doing this medieval battle sequence. I was wrong, as Obi-Wan would say, because this was like a whole other animal. This armor was so heavy.
The full armor that you see Dracula in is very weighty, but with the chainmail and the shoulder armor and the gauntlets and everything, that's a lot of weight that you're trying to carry while trying to fight at the same time. So, but it was fun. I enjoyed it.
The chainmail has saved me from some pretty bad injuries to my arm once or twice, and but ironically, the biggest injury I sustained was just because of the physical toll the armor takes on your body. We actually had to put the film on hiatus, and we're gonna have to film the rest of this battle sequence in the fall once the weather cools down. But also because I have to give time for my leg to heal. Because as we were filming a really intense day, I mean, I was doing a lot of fighting, I was doing a lot of running and falling, and just the shock of all this extra weight on my legs when I stepped around after the very last take of the day, when I was exhausted, I stepped around the camera to stop it recording, and my hip it popped out of joint. Like it literally popped out of its socket, and it was the worst pain I've ever felt in my life. I couldn't hardly move. I had to sit down in a lawn chair that fortunately my buddy Micah had brought, and I had to physically grab my leg, straighten it out, and kind of like pull it back into place, and just hit the side of my hip until I felt like it kind of went back in. And I thought I'd fixed it, but I really hadn't, because it turns out 2 days later it really actually popped back in, because I was twisted up in my sheets trying to roll over to turn off my alarm clock in the morning. And when I twisted, just somehow of how the sheets were wrapped around me, it held everything in place, and as I twisted my body, it just went like that. I heard it click, and I felt it kind of go right back into where it was. But as they say, pain is temporary, film is forever, and what we got out of this pain and misery was a really cool battle sequence. So we hope you guys are looking forward to this film as much as we are. We're working really hard on it, and we can't wait to show you what we've been cooking up.